Conservatives are working overtime to ensure that your employer provided health insurance doesn't actually cover abortions. So in other words, they want to get involved in the benefit decisions that employers, private companies make. So the right-wing Heritage Foundation plans to use federal labor laws to get what they want should Donald Trump get elected. The Heritage Foundation, which has been heavily involved in policy proposals for a Trump second term, has recommended that the Labor Department and Congress should clarify that federal labor regulations for employer-sponsored healthcare plans should not be allowed to trump states' ability to protect innocent human life in the womb. So in other words, they want to have the federal government, through Trump's Labor Department, make it clear that states that wish to ban the ability of employers to provide health insurance that covers abortion, they want to enable them to do that. Okay, so a separate proposal being considered by Trump labor advisors would rescind a new federal rule that takes effect this month, requiring most US employers to offer reasonable accommodations for their workers related to pregnancy and childbirth, including time off for abortions, according to one of the people with direct knowledge of the labor policy discussions among Trump advisors. And if you're wondering if this is going to have any real impact, I mean, think about it. How many employers provide health insurance that has coverage for abortion, right? It can't be that many, except it is. This would have a huge impact. About half, I'm actually shocked by this, about half of companies with at least 200 employees cover some abortion services under health insurance plans, according to a 2023 survey of firms by KFF, that's Kaiser Family Foundation, which has nothing to do with Kaiser Permanente, to be clear. Now, that's a big deal, and if you're wondering what kind of consequences this is gonna have on people's lives, the consequences potentially can be huge, especially if we're talking about individuals living in red states that have effectively banned abortion. That means that if they want to seek those services, if they want to seek abortion, they would have to travel out of state, which could be incredibly expensive. So having a healthcare plan that at least covers the full cost or part of the cost of getting an abortion is tremendously helpful. And it's just amazing to me that in this case, should the Heritage Foundation get its way, they would basically meddle in the decisions made by private businesses to ensure that they're not providing employer-sponsored healthcare that covers abortion.
Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who could make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's gonna make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you, thank you. First of all, my whole life, Republicans have been saying, oh, these Democrats want to mess with private companies. I can't believe they're doing regulations. Now they don't want the elevators to fall. They don't want the bridges to fall. That's meddlesome regulation. Don't mess with private companies.
They don't want wage theft.
Oh yeah, oh boo. They don't want child labor laws. Oh boo. Don't mess with private companies. Now they're like, oh, we're gonna mess with private companies.
Yep.
You wanna provide something for your workers? We're gonna use labor laws meant to protect workers to make sure that you must discriminate against your workers and you must take away benefits from them. Wow. And what happened? I thought the big jackbooted thugs of big government shouldn't be anywhere near their beloved businesses. Now, all of a sudden, the jackbooted thugs are on right-wingers and they love interfering with private. Now, the second irony here. You remember those Hobby Lobby cases, et cetera, where the Republicans and the Supreme Court agreed to it, had this lunatic idea that companies have religious rights. They're not human beings. How could they have religious rights? Does a piece of paper have a religious right? It's absurd to begin with. But they said, now, if you want to discriminate against your own employees though, you do have that right because of religion. You have a company has religious freedom to discriminate, right? Now here they're saying, no, you don't have religious freedom. Even if you don't believe in my version of Christianity and you don't think there's anything wrong with abortion and you want to provide it for your workers, you don't have that right. You don't have that. If that's your religious opinion, I don't give a goddamn about your religion. I don't care what your spirituality is. You must do the state religion, fundamentalist Taliban Christianity. What happened to religious freedom?
Yeah.
All of a sudden companies don't have it when they don't agree with you.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting because look, if the Heritage Foundation gets its way, I actually think this is far more meddlesome and far worse than what happened with Hobby Lobby. Because if I remember it correctly, I mean, it's been so long. The Hobby Lobby case had to do with them not wanting to provide health insurance that covers contraception, correct?
It was so long ago, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and so like, I can understand, that doesn't necessarily mean I agree with it, but I can understand the argument that the owner of that company has a deeply held religious belief that contraception is wrong and doesn't want to provide health insurance that covers contraception. I can at least understand that argument. In this case, you're meddling in a company's decision where they want to provide health insurance benefits that include coverage for abortion.
What if the owner of the company is an atheist and says, I think there's nothing wrong with abortion. It's my belief that women should have any right they want. Or what if they're a Christian, but they're Presbyterian and they don't believe in the Catholic point of view, etc. Or they're Jewish and they got nothing about abortion, right? And they want to make sure that they take care of their employees. The government is coming in and going, you're not allowed to do your religious beliefs. The only way you could do your religious beliefs is if you're a fundamentalist Christian. How is this not violation of church and state?
And guys,
they're establishing a religion, it's so obvious.
And look, I can also understand why companies would want to provide those benefits, especially if they're in red states where women don't have reproductive freedom.
Yeah.
So I totally understand why employers would want to do it. Now, how likely, oh, by the way, a few more details. So the proposed change would make it vastly more difficult for residents of states with abortion bans to obtain abortions by traveling out of state. Legal experts say even as out of state travel for abortions doubled between the first half of 2020 and the first half of 2023, according to data from the Guttmacher Institute. So how likely is it that Donald Trump will actually play ball with this proposal? Because there is a political price to pay for pursuing the further dismantling of reproductive rights in America, right? I mean, the midterm elections where we were supposed to see a red wave, well, that red wave never happened, specifically because of the fact that voters were retaliating against the destruction of reproductive rights. But Trump hasn't formally committed to anything. Talks are ongoing, but the author of Heritage's proposal is a guy named Jonathan Berry, and it's important for you to know about him. He's a former assistant secretary in the Labor Department during the Trump administration, and he's widely viewed as one of Trump's leading advisors on labor issues, which is super concerning. Berry is also a potential candidate for the senior position in the Labor Department under the Trump administration. Now, it's impossible to predict what Trump is going to do because he'll say anything to anyone at any given moment if he thinks it's beneficial for his campaign. But Trump released a video in April saying that the issue of abortion, for instance, should be left to the state. Then literally the next month, he suggested in an interview with a Pittsburgh television station that states should be able to restrict access to birth control. So he allegedly sees birth control as a states' rights issue, but then
he doesn't view it as anything in principle.
I know, but then like literally later that same day, Trump posted on Truth Social that he will never advocate imposing restrictions on birth control. So you never know what he's gonna do because he's not really committed to anything. He will do whatever he finds advantageous for himself at any given moment.
Of course. So look, Trump's advisors smartly use his verbal diarrhea as an advantage. What do I mean by that? So since he's constantly saying contradictory things, he's like, we love birth control, we hate birth control, which way are you guys applauding? I can't tell, right? He says both things. So then his advisors and all of his MAGA dunderheads go in, and if you say, hey, he's gonna take away birth control, they go, no, he said he's not gonna take away birth control. And then if you say, hey, religious right, it turns out Donald Trump's not gonna take away birth control. They're like, no, he said he would take away birth control because he said both things. So go on social media, say something true about Donald Trump, and they'll yell at the top of their lungs, no, he once said the contradictory thing. Of course, because he lies all the time. He can't even keep track of his lies. So last things here, Anna was right about Hobby Lobby. It was birth control that they were trying to deny their employees, which by the way, I get it. It's at least more logical as a thing that drives them as religious fundamentalists. It's not logical that they get to do it. And let's acknowledge that all of these religious zealots and the Republican Party at large are against freedom. The whole point of, hey, I get to control my body. I get to decide when I want to have a baby, if I want to have a baby. When I take birth control or don't, they go, no, we hate your freedom and we're going to take it away. We only meant freedom for us. And for you guys, we don't give a goddamn about you. And that's the current state of the Republican Party. And that's a fact. All right, we have an amazing bonus episode for our members only. tyt.com/team or hit the join button below. We'll see you there.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.